Today is February 17th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps and 12 traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we're on Chapter 3, more about alcoholism. We'll be reading page 37. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on Step 5. We'll read page 59. And of course, we'll read the 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, hope you all are doing well this morning, my friends. Buddy, am I just glad to be here today. Woke up with 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night with those intrusive thoughts, those things I did yesteryear. And I thought to myself, well, hey, here in a little bit, I'm going to get up and record Big Book Daily, and I'm going to realize that, these thoughts are just a passing cloud, and I've already prayed to my higher power. I'm already doing the things I've got to do to fix that behavior, and this is one of the big things for me. This is what helps me, and I already feel better. I just now started talking after praying, and I already feel better. And the cup of coffee in hand is definitely helping too. So with that, let's get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So if you recall from yesterday's reading, I love Jim. It sounds, when you go back and you look at page 36 and you see the squiggly writing, the italics, right? It sounds crazy. But how many times, when he's like, suddenly I thought I put a little bit of whiskey in my milk. But how many times have I made these resolutions and I've talked myself into another drink, or I put all these restrictions on myself, and I was just as insane. And then, they spent a good time talking about insanity. Insanity is mentioned a lot in these last couple of pages. The insanity is Jim believes in the lie. I was not being any too smart, but I felt reassured that I was taking the whiskey on a full stomach, and the experiment went so well that I ordered another whiskey. So his mind eventually talks him into a drink, and then now the physical allergy kicks in, and before long, he's got another journey to the asylum. Here was the threat of commitment, the loss of family and position, to say nothing of that intense mental and physical suffering which drinking always caused him. And then these last couple lines in squiggly writing again. He had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, yet all the reasons for not drinking were easily pushed aside in favor of the foolish idea that he could take whiskey if only he mixed it with milk. Yeah, talking about insanity, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm crazy. It just means I'm believing my own lie, talking myself into it, that mental obsession. But we're going to read page 37 today. Whatever the precise definition of the word may be, we call this plain insanity. How can such a lack of proportion, the ability to think straight, be called anything else? You may think this an extreme case. To us, it's not far-fetched. For this kind of thinking has been characteristic of every single one of us. We have sometimes reflected more than Jim did upon the consequences, but there was always the curious mental phenomenon that parallel with our sound reasoning, there inevitably ran some insanely trivial excuse for taking the first drink. Our sound reasoning failed to hold us in check. The insane idea won out. The next day we would ask ourselves, in all earnestness and sincerity, how it could have happened. In some circumstances, we've gone out deliberately to get drunk, feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. But even in this type of beginning, we are obliged to admit that our justification for a spree was insanely insufficient in the light of what always happened. We see that when we began to drink deliberately, instead of casually, there was little serious or effective thought during the period of premeditation of what the terrific consequences might be. Our behavior is absurd and incomprehensible with respect to the first drink, as that of an individual with a passion, say, for jaywalking. He gets a thrill out of skipping in front of fast-moving vehicles. He enjoys himself for a few years in spite of friendly warnings. Up to this point, you would just label him as a foolish chap having queer ideas of fun. Luck then deserts him, and he is slightly injured several times in succession. You would expect him, if he were normal, to cut it out. Presently, he's hit again, and this time as a fractured skull. Within a week after leaving the hospital, a fast-moving trolley car breaks his arm. He tells you that he's decided to stop jaywalking for good, but in a few weeks, he breaks both legs. Out of the 12 and 12 we're on step 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And if you recall out of yesterday's reading, we were talking about, like, what's the point? What's the point of, we prayed about it. We already did our inventory. God already knows about it. Why do we need to talk to somebody else about this? Well, there were a lot of good reasons on the bottom of page 58 and 59. Self-delusion had been causing us some problems. This had brought disturbing reflections. Because we were still bothered by fear, self-pity, and hurt feelings, it was probable we couldn't appraise ourselves fairly at all. Too much guilt and remorse. Possibly, too, we were still handicapped by many liabilities, great and small, that we never even knew we had. So, let's continue this thought on page 59. Hence, it was most evident that a solitary self-appraisal and the admission of our defects based upon that alone wouldn't be nearly enough. We'd have to have outside help if we were surely to know and admit the truth about ourselves. The help of God and another human being. Only by discussing ourselves, holding back nothing. Only by being willing to take advice and accept direction could we set foot on the road to straight thinking, solid honesty, and genuine humility. Yet, many of us still hung back. We said, why can't God as we understand Him tell us that we are astray? If the Creator gave us our lives in the first place, then He must know in every detail where we have since gone wrong. Why don't we make our admissions to Him directly? Why do we need to bring anyone else into this? At this stage, the difficulties of trying to deal rightly with God by ourselves are twofold. Though we may at first be startled to realize that God knows all about us, we are apt to get used to that quite quickly. Somehow, being alone with God doesn't seem as embarrassing as facing up to another person. Until we actually sit down and talk aloud about what we have so long hidden, our willingness to clean house is still largely theoretical. When we are honest with another person, it confirms that we've been honest with ourselves and with God. "24 hours a day, February 17th. AA thought for the day. Alcohol is poison to the alcoholic. Poison is not too strong a word, because alcoholism leads eventually to the death of an alcoholic. It may be a quick death or a slow death. When we go by liquor stores and see various kinds of alcohol, all dressed up in fancy packages to make it look attractive, we should always make it a point to say to ourselves, so we'll never forget it, that stuff's all poison to me. And it is. Alcohol poisoned our lives for a long time. Do I know that since I'm an alcoholic, all liquor is poison to me? Meditation for the day. I must somehow find the means of coming nearer to God. That is what really matters. I must somehow seek the true bread of life, which is communion with Him. I must grasp for the truth at the center of all worship. This central truth is all that matters. All forms of worship have this communion with God as their purpose and goal. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may meet God in quiet communion. I pray that I may partake of the soul food that God has provided for me. Daily Reflection, February 17th. The love in their eyes. Some of us won't believe in God. Others can't, and still others who do believe that God exists have no faith whatever that He'll perform this miracle. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 25. It was the changes I saw in the new people who came into the fellowship that helped me lose my fear and change my negative attitude to a positive one. I could see the love in their eyes, and I was impressed by how much their one day at a time sobriety meant to them. They had looked squarely at step 2 and came to believe that a power greater than themselves was restoring them to sanity. That gave me faith in the fellowship and hope that it could work for me too. I found that God was a loving God, not a punishing God I feared before coming in AA. I also found that He had been with me during all those times I had been in trouble before I came to AA. I know today that He was the one who led me to AA, and that I am a miracle. All right, my friends, that concludes today's reading, and man, some great stuff. I know we're already past 10 minutes here, so I better hurry, but out of the 12 and 12, talking about step 5, man, it is some great stuff here. I know for me, picking the right person to talk to, somebody I trusted, somebody I knew would keep everything confidential, and that I knew genuinely cared about me. I could just feel it. And there were 2 people that I think of, and I won't say their names for anonymity's sake, but the first time I did step 5, and then the second time I did step 5, both were men that I respected, trusted, and appreciated. And in both instances, well, let me go back. I love this line right here on page 59. Only by discussing ourselves, here it is, I circled it, holding nothing back. Only by being willing to take advice and accept direction could we set foot on the road to straight thinking, solid honesty, and genuine humility. I know for me, I couldn't dress it up or paint a broad stroke. I had to get specific. And again, this is just me. I had to tell this person everything, or these 2 men over time, everything, holding nothing back. But here's how it went down. All that fear that I had leading up to it, especially the first time, it all melted away once I finally did it. When I gave my inventory to a trusted friend and he read through it, he pointed out some things. And this is another reason why I think it's important to talk to somebody about it, somebody you trust, the right person, right? He pointed out some things in me that I didn't recognize, that I didn't know I was doing. It was an objective point of view and a different perspective, with the collective goal, or the common goal, of helping me to change for the better. And so he and I came up with some strategies. Well, we identified the problem first. We came up with some strategies and some accountability to deal with some of these issues. We prayed together. Actually, let me back up. Before we prayed, he told me some of his struggles. We prayed together. And from that moment on, I was free. I mean, I'm telling you, after I did my 5th step, both times, I thought to myself, thank God that's over with. And you know what? Just as I was saying at the top of the show, these intrusive thoughts I had in the middle of the night just woke me up. Guess what? I'd already admitted these to a trusted friend. I already have strategies to make sure that these things don't happen anymore. I have a loving Heavenly Father, and I love that daily reflection, by the way. A loving Heavenly Father that wants what's best for me and has forgiven me, and I believe it. I've finally forgiven myself. I remember making that list, and after doing my step 5, I burnt that list. It's over. I'm moving on. You know, these are just passing clouds. They're not who I am. So it's just beautiful stuff. Oh my gosh. And then right here again, I'll say it. Only by being willing to take advice and accept direction. So I took advice from my sponsors, and I had 2 of them. One was kind of an unofficial and the other was an official. But only by taking advice and accepting direction. So he gave me some pointers and I accepted those. Could we set foot on the road to straight thinking, solid honesty, and genuine humility? I don't know if I've shared this or not, but I remember one time It was sixth grade graduation. And I was chosen, and I wasn't an academic, trust me. I think I've shared that too on the show. I struggled in school, but I was a halfway decent writer, and I loved to create stories, but I was chosen to read my speech in front of the sixth grade graduation class and in front of the parents and everything like that before we moved over to the middle school. Well, leading up to it, I was terrified. Absolutely terrified, but I just kept on practicing the speech, practicing reading through my cue cards here or whatever. But the anticipation was terrible. Well, finally comes the night that I have to give the speech. I go up to the stage, have my speech in hand. And the funny thing was, by the time I finally got up there and I started speaking, it's like this peace washed over me. I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. Gosh, I put this in my head that this was going to be so much worse than it is. And before I knew it, the speech was over. Oh, and then we went to Best Buy and I got a video game. My parents took me, as an early an early birthday present. So that ended up being a great day, but that mental block, right, of that fear, that false evidence appearing real, nearly paralyzed me. And if I'm not careful, sometimes I can have paralysis by analysis where, wait, what does this really mean? Did I do the step perfectly? Did I do the step totally right? I hope so. And before long, I'm second guessing myself so much that I'm stuck. I'm not moving forward. Paralysis by analysis, right? And fear. I got to watch that, But anyway, my friend, I've been rambling for so long. I'm so sorry. The daily reflection was beautiful too, and I hope you realize that you're a miracle. They were talking about that at the end of the daily reflection. I think that's great because we say that all the time. If you're sober today, you're a miracle, and you're giving a great gift to those around you. And you can carry the message and help the next suffering alcoholic or anybody else for that matter. Because you're a miracle. We're here for a reason. In my humble opinion, that's Robology right there. And if you're not sober today, you're a miracle as well. Your story's not done yet. And today could be the very, very first day of your brand new life. And you don't have to do it alone. This is a we program. And I hope you realize that you're worthy of recovery. But my friends, as always, I don't speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, any other sect, denomination, organization. I am just a drunk. I am not a professional narrator. I stumble on some of these words. Sometimes I have to look them up. But hey, it is an honor to be here. And if we were given another set of 24 hours, my friends, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.